Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're gonna look at how you can practice emergency issues in Flight Simulator 2020 with all the aircrafts which are part of Flight Simulator 2020. To go to the failures or to configure the failures which are occurring, you need to select an aircraft and after that go to the failure section. The failures which can happen are limited to only the engines, so engine 1 and engine 2 in this case, and you can see that we having different, I would say, scenarios. We can say, okay, hey, it needs to be a complete failure of the engine, an oil system issue, an oil leak, an ignition issue, or even fire. And you can see, if I'm scrolling back to the top, that you've got two options. You can either set it to on and you can set it to armed, and the armed one lets you configure a time frame in which the issue will happen, which is really cool, of course. The same can be done for any other aircraft as far as I could see, so let's check some other ones. Based on a quick look, I didn't find any other, I would say, error types. So let's go for the CRG 500 failures. Here you can see the same ones, although here you've got the fuel pump, which is not in the default Flight Simulator 2020 787. So it could be that some, I would say, custom aircrafts, or in this case I would say commercial aircrafts, have different failure types. And let's look at the Bombardier -8. This one has fuel pump issue. Let me look at the helicopter, which is one of the favorites, or one of my favorite options, is to fly with the helicopter, which has been updated earlier this week. Or is it? Here it is. Which failures do we have here? Yeah, you can see a little bit the same, so that's cool, right? So let's select, in this case, let's select the A320. Oh, but which one shall we select? Shall we select the default one or the A320NX? Well, let's go for the A320NX, which has the same failure rate as you can see. And let's do, well, fire. We switch it on, and then we define a time frame between, let's say, 3 to 5. Let's say between 3 and 5 minutes, or let's do 7 minutes. Makes more sense, right? So the plan is to depart from Schiphol Airport. So let's see how that goes. So we need to ensure that these options are set. Those are set. That's cool. Gonna close it, and then we're gonna press the fly option, which will bring us to runway 24 of Schiphol Airport. So let's see what happens. Really curious, didn't try this before. Also very curious how it looks like, of course. And in the A320NX, I think there are some, I would say, options to, let's say, extinguish the fire with the fire extinguishers, but I'm not sure if they're working. I didn't try it before because I recently discovered this option to test failures based on some new landing challenges where also some, I would say, engine issues occurred. Only there it was that the fuel, or that the pressure dropped with one of the engines. And as you could see, right, you can enable multiple issues. So for example, you can first say, okay, first the oil drops, then the fire hits the engine. So there are multiple options. So what I'm hoping is that they will add some more, I would say, issues. For example, that you can't lower down the gears or something. That would also be a cool challenge. Or that the flaps are not working anymore, or the air brakes. Maybe that comes, but let's see. And again, right, that's how you can use Flight Simulator to practice these scenarios. Really great. So we're waiting till it's loaded. Some news about the A320NX, right? Waiting for an official new release. I'm using the developer release. That's one is updated on a pretty regular base and allows me to test some new things and play around with all the new features. And let me know if you also tested this option. Yeah, let me know in the comment box. Also, let me know which kind of failures did you test and how you resolved them or how you worked around with them, right? For example, with the pressure dropping, how did you react with that? Where you managed to, I would say, land safely again, or not? It's almost done with loading. As you can see, it takes some time in some cases. Actually, I was hoping that today the update was released for Flight Simulator, but it is now scheduled for the 25th, which is next week. So we need to give it some time, right? It's not a world update, it's a Flight Simulator update in which they will fix several issues. So let's see what kind of improvements they made to Flight Simulator next week, hopefully. Almost there, and then we can start flying around and see what happens in a few minutes. So what are the things I'm curious of? Okay, first is, okay, what happens, what are you seeing inside the aircraft, and then of course outside the aircraft, what do you see? How, let's say, realistic is it? And then probably try the fire extinguisher in the A320. Not sure if it works, but we can give it a try, of course. Pretty impressive, right? 6,500 kilometers or 3,500 miles can be flown with this aircraft. Let me know if you tried it. If you did a test with one of the aircrafts and completely emptied the fuel tanks. I know some people hit the issue with the boost trips. Right, so that's something which you need to know is during those boost trips you sometimes need to refuel to prevent that you're ending up in a scenario where you're in the air and then suddenly the engine drops. So here's Schiphol. Still loading, as you can see. So it's approved, and then we need to wait, and that's the crappy thing about the A320NX, at least. That's what I found out lastly, that not all things are starting correctly. So let's give it a few minutes, and hopefully during those minutes the engine will not collapse or start burning. Yeah, it works, right? So let's make sure flaps are okay. Flaps are okay. We're gonna go full throttle. Because we want to be in the air when the issue happens, right? Landing gear up. And to give you an idea where the fire extinguishers are, let me show them. They're here, right? So here are the options to perform or at least to prevent that the engine completely sets the airplane in fire, and here are some options to activate them.
Skip Hall Tower, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, frequency change.
Still no fire. In that case, we can continue, right? Keeping an eye on these things. Switching the autopilot. Looks like some buttons are not working as expected. And still not on fire. Not sure what this A floor means, to be honest. It looks like that there is an issue with the latest update, because it continues to say go crazy. So let's push it a little bit down. Let's see if we can activate the autopilot. Yeah, so it was the floor which was causing the issue, right? So we're flying a heading of 185. So we're gonna set the altitude to 10,000. Say to 1,000 feet. And then let's wait for the disaster to strike. And here you can see it. So the engine is on fire. We'll land as soon as possible, right? You can see it here on screen. Engine master 1 is off. And here it says, okay, push the fire button. Well, of course, first want to see how it looks like from the outside. Doesn't look impressive, to be honest. Maybe that's due to the fact that they didn't model it yet in this aircraft. So let's go inside, and then let's see if we can extinguish the fire. So switch on the auto throttle again. So it's engine 1, right? You can see it's already enlightened. Not sure. This is really the way to do. Yes. And you can see we now lost it completely, right? So it extinguished it, but we completely lost it, and now we're flying on one engine. Funny thing is that it still rotates. can see. And now it really starts. Does it really start to smoke? No, not yet. So I would say the A320NX, maybe it's not a good example, so let's switch to another aircraft and see if it looks a little bit more realistic. So we're gonna go to the main menu. So let's select the 787, one of the other large airliners. So we're gonna select the world map again. 787, where are you? Here it is. Livery, yeah, of course, the Proud of the Netherlands, KLM. Then we're gonna do fire. Well, let's select engine 2 in this case. We set it between 3 and 5 minutes. Yeah. In this case, what shall we do? We're gonna fly from Australia because it's dark. So maybe that gives, I would say, some nice effects if the engine really goes on fire. So with the previous one, right, you saw that it resulted in a failure in the aircraft, but it was from the outside, you couldn't see much. To be honest, I'm also not sure if it's really should show something because I'm testing this as we speak, at least the fire scenario. So let's see what we can get with this 787, which has the Boeing 787 modification. So it has a different cockpit, so if you're used to the default cockpit, be aware that this could be looking a little bit different, as you can see. This one doesn't have the fire extinguisher, if I'm correct. Let's have a look at it. No electric modes, so no system, so that will be cool. So we're gonna push the throttle. And then we're gonna depart from the Gold Coast airport. Based on this, it looks like the stuttering is again back in a flight simulator. A little bit bumpy, I'm not sure what happened there, but
Boeing 787, you are leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
So I'm gonna
Tower Boeing Alpha Sierra X-ray 787 frequency change.
enable the autopilot. Auto throttling is enabled, as you can see. I'm gonna set the flight level change option. We're gonna fly a heading of 139. And then let's wait a few minutes and see what happens. Currently everything looks cool, right? You can see it from here, there's nothing wrong. If we also look at the other options. Nothing wrong here, no warnings. What warnings will come? It's also here. Nothing wrong here. Gear is also fine. No electric things, no fuel things. These options are still not working. And now something happens, because you can see suddenly something happens. I'm not sure what. Again, here is also not much to see, right? It simply stops working. Or isn't that the issue yet? No, I don't think so. It's probably the auto throttling because we reached 200. It's no longer than 3 minutes ago, right? We did something with engine 3, right? So, or with the right engine in this case. So let me move over and see if we can see something there. But it also doesn't look like real fire in the engine, to be honest. But something is going on, because you can see that the engine is not normally operating, right? So it's losing pressure. There are no alarms. So nothing indicates that really something is wrong. But there is something wrong, because if you look at the meters here, this one is perfect, but this one is losing both pressure, the temperature drops, the N1 drops. But other than that, nothing, unfortunately. I was hoping that it would be, let's say, some flames would be nice. But it doesn't look like to be the case, right? So I'd say let's end the video in that case here. So what we did is we looked at the failure options, which we can configure. We tried the two fire ones in different airplanes, and we hope some more fire to be seen. But as you can see, there's not really fire being shown. On the other hand, there is an impact on the engine, because you can see that the engine on the right side, I would say, works completely different than the one on the left side. Also the temperature is pretty high, right? Besides the compared to the left one. So something is wrong there. I hope you like this video. Try it out yourself with the different aircrafts, because this helps you learning how to deal with emergency situations in Flight Simulator 2020. If you've got questions or comments, then please feel free to add them below the video in the comment box. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.